Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Saurav, and this is my YouTube channel, Data Science Novice. So, if you are new to my YouTube channel, please do like and subscribe. Your efforts are massively appreciated. So, I'm happy to share that I have started a new lecture series in which I am going to upload the videos of project related to data science. So, in each video, we will be solving some business related problem, and with each project, the difficulty level is going to increase. So few things to keep in mind. I will be not talking about the concept in detail, like what is linear regression and all that. I'm assuming that you already know these things. Although for some concept, I will explain you why we are doing this or why we are doing that. Next, the only requirement for the project is you must know the Python language and you don't have to worry about the libraries or code. I will be explaining you each and every code line by line. Though the basic knowledge is required that why do we use this particular library or that particular library. So in this project, we have data on houses in Boston, and based on that information available, we have to predict the price of the houses. So this is going to be a multilinear regression problem. And in the practical section, we will see that how we can extract all the information without going on internet. So I'm not going to bore you with the details. So also this is a very popular data set in machine learning and it is widely used for benchmarking the algorithms. And there is also a research paper on this project. So there they have explained everything in detail. So if you want to read, which you should do, it's available out there. So now let's talk about what you will learn from this project. So first we will learn different kinds of plots using Matplot library and Seaborn library. And we will see that how we can customize our plots to look it more appealing. So first we will learn these plots, then we will do some statistical analysis, and then we will combine these statistics with the graphs. After that we will learn train test split method, that how we split the data. Then we will build the linear regression model using scikit-learn and stats model. We will compare the difference between the models from these two modules, like when we should use scikit-learn or when we should use stat models. And finally, we will check the assumptions of multilinear regression, which is the most important part of this project. So without wasting time, let's get started. So here I am in Jupyter Notebook and I have already imported some essential libraries. So sklearn has some inbuilt dataset that you can access to do machine learning project. And we are going to take the dataset from there. So we just have to write sklearn.dataset import load Boston. And then we have imported libraries like Matplot, Pandas, Seaborn, and NumPy. And next we have written a simple code to ignore the warning. So as an exercise, try to run your notebook without this code. And you will see some warnings in some code. Although there won't be an issue, your code will work just fine. It is just we get these depreciated warning due to updates in libraries. And finally, we have percentage matplotlib inline function. So this is a magic function. So what does it do? This line of code ensures that what we are plotting will be shown in Jupyter Notebook itself. And if we don't use this code, the plot will be shown at some memory location and you will have to use show method to actually see the plots. So as we know that everything is object in Python and the load Boston is also a object. So next we have to instantiate the object by calling load Boston and saving it in some variable. So in this case, I am going to call it Boston. So we have created the Boston object. Now we want to know that what this object contains, and for that we just have to call dir function, which returns all the properties and method of the specified object. And in this case, this will return all the properties and method in Boston object. So here we have following attributes. So the first attribute is basically describe the whole data set. So what is the data set, what type of variable it has, and all sorts of information. Next, we have the required data on which we are going to do analysis and model building. Then we have all the feature names, that's basically column names in our data set. Next, we have file name, and lastly, we have the target variable, that is our median house price. So let's check the data description. So we call print function and we pass Boston.first attribute. So this way we can access the attribute from the object. So here we have all the information regarding the data, that how many rows and how many columns the data set contains. Then we have all the attribute names and explained as well. So whatever information you need, you can find in this description of the data. So I would suggest you to give a thorough read, because before doing the project, we must know the problem and the data. Next, we are going to create the actual dataset using the data frame provided by Pandas library. So data frame are just like Excel sheets. It contains rows and columns. So let me create one, then you will understand it better. So first we create a data variable, then we call pd.dataframe, and next we have to pass few parameters. So the first is data itself. So data equals to boston.data. Next we have to pass the column names. So columns name equals to boston.features names, and that's all we have to do. So let me show you the data first. So here we have our data in tabular format like we see in Excel that consists of rows and columns. Then these cells are populated with values. But one thing you will notice that we do not have target variable. That is our price column. So we have to create a price column, and that is pretty much simple. So let me show you how to do that. So we call our data frame, and then in a square bracket we pass the column name. So in this case it is going to be price all in caps. Then we have to populate this column. So what we are going to do, we are going to call our Boston object, and from that we are going to grab the target attribute. So now you can see that the price column has been added. So this way we can add as many as column we want. Next, we are going to see how to peek into the data. I mean, obviously we can call the data frame, but this is not a correct way to do that. So what we are going to do, we are going to use another method that is called head method. So once we call this method, we get first 5 values of our data frame. So let me show you. So here we have first 5 rows. We can return as many as rows we want. We just have to pass the number. So if I pass 10, this will return first 10 values. Now suppose instead of having 14 columns, you have 50 columns. So in this case, the data won't fit horizontally. So what we can do is, we can transpose this data frame by .t attribute. So here you see we have transposed the data frame. This is useful in case of large number of columns. We can also check the last rows of the data frame by calling tail method, and it works similar to head method, just opposite of it, although I don't use it much. So here we have rows starting from 501, 502, basically last 5 rows. So next we are going to check the missing values, and there are two ways to do this. So the first way is by calling .info method, and here we get bunch of information like number of rows, that is 506, starts from 0 and ends at 505. Next we have number of columns, that is 14. Then we have column name, and next to it is non-null value counts. So each column, the count is 506. That means we do not have missing values. And then we have some bunch of other information like data type, size of the data, etc. etc. The second method is more convenient method, and you will know in a second. So we call isNull method of data frame, and here we have the output, and you must be wondering what is this. So this method returns binary value for each cell. So if there is a missing value, it will return true and otherwise false. Now you must be wondering how on earth it is better than the previous one. So wait for it. Let me call another function, that is sum method. So with this method, we have narrowed down the information. So basically we are seeing only the column names and the number of missing value in that column. The good thing is that our data does not contain any missing values. And the reason I have chosen this project is because as a beginner, you must ensure that you are learning things bit by bit. If you are trying to learn things in a one go, you will end up suffocating yourself and might be discouraged to go into machine learning or data science. So in this project, we are not going to treat any missing values. So now we have ensured that we do not have missing values. Next, we have to do the graphical analysis. So first I'm going to check the distribution of target variable, that is price column. And this is something you should always do first. So first we are going to decide the plot size. So for that we call plt.figure, then we call figure size, and then we pass the dimension. Then we set the background style by calling sns.set, and in that we pass the style. So I like white grid, so I'm passing that. So this will convert the background into white grid. Next, we are going to create a histogram. So why histogram? When the variable we want to plot is continuous and we want to see it in a more organized way, we group the values or we create intervals or bins. Even if you take the example of height of students in a class, the best way to plot it using histogram. Because if we start plotting each student age, that will not make any sense. So that's why we group them together. So to plot the histogram, we call plt.hist. Then we have to pass few things. So first we have to pass the price column, that is our data. And this can be done in two ways. First, you can pass the column name in square bracket. Second, you can use dot and then use the column name. So choose as per your convenience. Next, we have to decide the bin size. That is nothing, just grouping the data or making the intervals. So in this case, I am going to pass 50. You can decide any value you want. Next, we have to decide the edge color. That is nothing, just the edge of the bars. So in this case, I am going to go with the black. And finally, we have to choose the color for the bars. So for that, I'm going to use hash code, and you don't have to memorize the hash code. You can find it on internet anywhere. So that's all we have to do as of now. So let's run this cell. So here we have our histogram. And as of now, this graph does not look representable. And as a data scientist, you have to make sure that your work should look more representable and understandable to the layman or general audience. Because looking at the graph, one cannot judge what this graph is showing. So we have to label the graph. So now let's make it more representable. So I'm going to add a few line of code. So first we are going to add x-axis label. So we call plt.x label. Then we have to pass the string basically. Basically what you want to write on x-axis. So I'm going to write price in 1000 and I'm going to set the font size equal to 16 so that we can see it better. Similarly, for ylabel, we just have to call plt.ylabel, then passing the axis name as frequency. And the font size is again going to be 16. And this is very much similar to xlabel, and this is something we are going to do a lot in this project. Next, for the title, we call plt.title, and then we pass the string. So in this case, I'm going to go with price distribution. And then we decide the font size again 16. So you can play around with this value. Your title should look much more bigger than your axis. So now if we look at our graph, this graph contains much more information than the previous one. And now if a third person sees the graph, he or she can understand what we have plotted. That it is a price distribution graph where on y-axis we have count and on x-axis we have price in thousand. So the 20 in the x-axis means that it is 20,000, which was not clear in the earlier graph. So we can plot the same thing using Seaborn library. I'm just going to copy paste the whole code and make few changes. So first we have to change the plt.his to sns.displot. Next the data Next the data is going to be same and the bin size is also going to be same. And we don't need the EC because there is no argument in displot. Next I'm going to change the color so that we can identify, by looking at the colors. So this graph is smaller than the previous one because we did not set any figure size. And here we can see that we have the same plot with added functionality. That is, curve is drawn over the histogram, which makes it easier for us to see that it's almost normally distributed. Now let me show you one more thing, that we can create these plots side by side with few lines of code. And for that we are going to use subplot method. So first let me copy paste this block of code with the previous one. Next I'm going to change the dimension of the plot because now we need a bigger plot. Next we call subplot functionality, and in that we have to pass the number of rows, number of columns and the index for that plot. So here we have to pass 1 to 1. So here 1 means 1 row, 2 means 2 columns and 1 is the index of the graph. So similarly I'm going to copy paste the same code and just we have to change the index. And lastly we make a change in the title. So here it is going to be matplot and here it is going to be Seaborn. So here you can see the side-by-side comparison of these two plots. As of now, I have created the plot for the same variable. You can do this for the different variables, like if you want to see the distribution of two variables or anything else you can think of. So now what observation we can make from these plot? First, we can see that it is almost normally distributed, not perfectly, and there is some skewness. So now your task is to find the skewness for the price column. Next, by looking at the graph, we can say that the average price must be between 20,000 to 25,000. And since it's normally distributed, we can say that the median price should be around 20 to 25,000, because we know that for normal distribution, mean, mode, medians are equal. So once you make a graph, you can always use it for some other variable. So I am going to use the same code for the RM variable. So let me just copy paste the code and change the data. Next, I'm going to change the title and the label so that it makes much more sense. Next, I'm going to copy paste this label and title code so that we don't have to, add it again. So here we have our graph. So, okay, so I made a mistake. I did not change the data for Seaborn plot. So let me do that. So from this graph, we can see that it's also normally distributed and the average is around 6 or in between 6 or 7. And also the mean is going to be the same. So, this way you can explore other variable as well. You just have to change the code a little bit. So next we are going to create a bar plot which is used for discrete values. But before that, let's explore a discrete variable in our data set, which is RAD, that is Index of Accessibility to Radial Highway. This scores the house based on the proximity or accessibility to the radial highways. So the larger the score, better is the accessibility. And it is quite easy to analyze discrete variable with pandas. So let me show you and then I will explain you what is happening. So this value count method is very specific to data. So it is only used for categorical or discrete variables. So this method returns the count for each discrete value. So here we have the distribution of score, like 132 house have got 24 as a radial index score. So let's create the bar plot. So before that we have to store it into a variable because we are going to use it. So first we are going to create the plot size, which is going to be the same as before. Okay, so there is a typo error, so let me correct it. So we call plt.bar and then we have to pass few parameters. So first we pass the index or score that ranges from 1 to 24. Next we have to pass the height for this bar plot, and it is nothing but our data itself, that is the counts. Next we have to pass the color. So in this case I'm going to go with the red color. Next we set the labels and the title for the plot, which is something we have seen. So I am speeding up the video so that we do not waste much time. So here we have our bar plot, and one thing we can notice that we do not have any values for index between 10 to 20. So no house was given the score between 10 to 20. Now try to find the reason for this, because this is very famous data set and you can find the explanation for this. And if you found one, please let me know in the comment section. So this was a graphical analysis, although there will be more graphical analysis, but that will be combined with the statistics. And for that, we have to do the statistical analysis first, and then we will combine these two things and see what we can get. And Pandas data frame makes it extremely easy for us. So to get the statistical summary of the data, we just have to call data.describe. One thing to keep in mind, this method only gives statistical summary for numerical columns. If the data contains some column that has a string, in those cases, column will not be included in this statistical analysis. So here we get count, mean, standard deviation, minimum value, and so on and so forth. So how can we judge based on this information? So let me take the example. So here if we look at RM variable, the mean is 6.28 and the median is 6.20. So the mean is greater than median. This means column is positively skewed. Although skewness is not that much because less difference between the mean and median. So similarly, we can judge other variable as well. So as an exercise, try to spend more time on this table and compare the mean and median of other variables and see if you can draw other conclusion as well. So this was a univariate analysis where we check the mean, mode, median of the data. Next, we are going to do the bivariate analysis, in which we try to find the relationship between two variables. And one such technique for this is called correlation. So your task is to read about correlation if you don't know, and if you know that, it's well and good. It is basically tell us that how the change in one variable affect the change in other variable. And again, this is extremely easy in pandas. We just have to call the correlation method and it will find the correlation of each variable with other variables. So here we have correlation matrix of each variable with other variable. If we look at the table, crime has a correlation of 1 with crime, and which is pretty much obvious because these are the same variable. then this Zn variable has a correlation of negative 0.2 something. So here the sign represents that if the value of the crime rate increases, the value of Zn decreases and vice versa. And the magnitude is just telling us the strength of the correlation. Now this is quite a big matrix and it has more than the information required. So sometimes too much information can ruin the whole thing. Now we have to narrow down the information. So here we are going to see the correlation of the of other variable with the target variable. And for that we have to add it the code. So I'm going to write the price column name in a square bracket and this will give us the desired result. So here we have the correlation of price with other variable and we see that most of the variables are negatively correlated. So try to understand the reason behind why the variables have negative correlation. So for example, crime has a negative correlation because no one buys the home in the area where the crime rates are high. Hence the demand in those areas is low and this is simple economics, demand and price thing. So if demand is high, price goes up and if demand is low, price goes down. And these are the reason I thought of while doing this project. They may or may not be true, but at the end of the day, you have to make a guess and justify when asked about the reason. Like this, try to come up with reason for other variables as well. This way you will understand the project better and during interview you will be rewarded for that because that happened with me. So I was asked about what observation I made from the data. Then I told them that NOx is negatively correlated with the target variable. And then they asked why. Then I explained them that NOx stands for nitric oxides concentration, which is harmful for human if exposed longer period of time. Well, thanks to my graduation in chemistry, that helped me a lot. So people that are well off most likely to stay in healthy environment. So they prefer those areas where NOx concentration is less. Hence, that's why we see a negative correlation. And like that, I explain other observation as well. So earlier I said that we are going to combine the graphs with the statistics and we are going to do that now. So let me first show you the same correlation matrix. Now if I want to make this matrix more representable, I want all the information but in such a way that is more representable and easy to analyze. So first let me save the correlation matrix in a variable. Next I'm going to set the plot size. Then we call sns.heatmap and pass the correlation matrix and that's all we have to do. It is that much simple. So here we have our correlation heat map and on the right hand side we see the scale that if it's 1 the cell is going to be white and if the correlation is -1 the cell is going to be black. But now I want the correlation value as well. So for that we just have to pass n0 equals to true. So here we have our correlation value as well. So now I want to configure it more. Like I want to change the size of the cell values as well. So for that we have to pass another parameter and that takes dictionary. So next we pass anode kws and then we pass a dictionary. So first we are going to pass the size which is going to be 14. This looks little congested, so I'm going to change the plot size and see if we can make it better or not. So this looks much better than the previous one. Next, I need to separate these cells. So for that, I'm going to pass another argument that is line width. So that's even better for me. So if you want to try different configuration, I would suggest you to read the documentation, try to play around with the color map. So you see, with the help of heat map, we are able to hold so much information in a well organized way. Now, if I want to see which variables are most correlated, I don't have to look at the number. I just have to search for the dark areas and then I can check the value inside the cell. So this is one of the best graph if you want to combine the statistics and graphs. Now again, you should study this graph thoroughly. Try to draw conclusion from this graph. Next, we are going to create a scatter plot. So this is also used for checking the relationship between two variables. So I'm going to explore the relationship between distance or weighted distance from employee center and NOx variable. So we just have to call plt.scatter and pass the data. So on x-axis, I want distance and on y-axis, I want NOx. And the color is going to be green this time. Next, as usual stuff, we are just going to decide the title, y-axis and x-axis for the data. That is something we have been doing so far. So here we have our plot and we can see that there is a negative relationship between these two variables. So let me make it little big. So how do we know that there is a negative relationship between these two variables? So if we look at the extreme value of the plots, for example, if you look at the highest value for NOx, it is above 0.8 and the value for DIS at that point is less than 2. Similarly, if we check for the extreme value of DIS, it is above 12 and NOx value at that point is 0.4. So we see that if we increase the value of DIS, the value of NOx decreases, which is what this plot is trying to say. And if we draw a regression line, the slope will be negative for this plot. Now, if you want to change how dark we want these green dots, we can do that. We just have to pass the alpha value and it takes value between, I think, 0 to 1 because I have never tried value beyond 0, 1. So here we can see overlapped values as well. So these dark region indicate that the values have overlapped here. And this is something we will be doing in some other project as well. Then I will tell you why it is useful and why we do this. Next, we can use the correlation value and print it on the graph as well. So first we have to find the correlation and which is very similar to what we did back there. So we just have to call the correlation method of the data frame. Next, we are going to use the f string to show the correlation value with the title of the graph. So we just have to write f outside the double quotes. Next, let's write in bracket correlation and then in curly braces, we just have to pass correlation variable that we created earlier. Now we can see the title along with the correlation value. But the problem is we have too many significant figures. But we can reduce this with the help of round function of Python. So I'm going to round this to 2 decimal points. So now we have the correlation values in 2 decimal points. Since the title is too small, I'm going to change the font size to 16. And we are doing all this for aesthetics purpose. Now the graph looks much more better. So this graph can also be plotted using Seaborn library and it is way more informative. And it is known as regression plot where the regression line is combined with the scatter plot. And to do that, we just have to write simple code. So sns.lmplot and this time I'm going to plot the graph between RM and the price column. So we pass them as X and Y. Then we have to pass the data. Okay, so I'm getting an error. Okay, so let me correct it. So here we have our regression plot. Let me change the size and for that we just have to pass the size argument. So from the graph we can say that RM is positively correlated with the price. Since greater the number of rooms, bigger is the house, hence greater is the price. Also we can deal with this warning that is showing. So instead of size we have to pass the height and we are good to go. So I have covered enough plots and you can use them for other variable as well. I would suggest you as a practice try to do that. Next, we have to divide the data set into train and test. So why do we divide the data set? And this is something you just have to read about it because it's a vast topic. But let me explain you in short. So when we deploy a model into production, we want to be sure that model is performing up to the expectation. So we train the model on the training data and keep the test part for the testing. And if it performs better on test as well, we put the model into production. So with the help of test data, we just making sure that model is performing well on unseen data. Because when we deploy the model, it is reading the new data that it has never seen before. So that's why we split the data set into two parts. And splitting the data is quite easy. We are going to use the train test split method, which can be imported from sklearn.model_selection. So from sklearn.model_selection, we import train test split method. Now first we have to divide the data set into X and Y or target and features. So our target is going to be price column and the feature is going to be everything except price. So I'm going to drop the price and keeping everything else. Next we call the train test split method and you don't have to write all. You can just use tab autocomplete for this. Mine is not working, I don't know why. Now we have to pass few things. So first we pass the features. Next we have to pass the target. Next we have to pass the train size. So how much data we want for the training? In this case, I am going to go with 80% of the data. And lastly, we pass the random state. So this method split the data randomly. So every time we run this cell, that data will have different observation. And we don't want this because this will affect our observations. So we set the random seed equals to some number. So this way we are making sure that split is same every time we run the cell. Now this function return four things. So we have to pass four variable for that. So we are going to pass xtrain, xtest, ytrain and ytest. And this is known as tuple unpacking in Python. So now let's check the variables, whether we have split the data correctly or not. So again, I'm going to use the head method. Seems good to me. So let's check the shape of the data. So I'm going to check the shape of both training data and the test data. So here we have the shape of the data and we are good to go. So now we can proceed to build the model. So next what we are going to do, we are going to build the regression model. And fitting a linear regression model is very easy. So first we have to import the model. So from sklearn.linear model, we import the linear regression. So first we have to instantiate the model. So if you are coming from C++ or any other object-oriented programming language, then you can relate to this. Next, we call fit method of the instantiated model. And in that, we have to pass the feature and target variable. So xtrain and ytrain. And that's we have to do for the training. So let's press shift enter. And you see that it is as simple as that. You don't have to do anything. It's just that you have to feed the data to the algorithm and everything will be taken care of. So next we are going to check how our model performed on training data and test data. So for that we have to use the score method of the model and pass the data. And this function returns the coefficient of determination or also known as R square. So first we are going to print the training data R square. So reg.score, then we have to pass the feature and the target. So here we see that our training data has R squared value 75% or you can say 0.75. So on similar lines, we can print the score for test data. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy paste the same code and we just have to change the data. So in this case, this time it's going to be X test and then it's going to be Y test. So now you can see that our model is giving R squared value 75% on test data, sorry, training data, and on test data, it is giving 0.67. That is 67% of the variance is explained by this model in the test set. So there are many ways to improve the model performance, but this project is not for that. I just want you to familiarize with analysis and modeling part. So once you are comfortable with that, the next project is going to be a good project and there we will try to implement different techniques. So now the problem with this model is we do not have much information. And if you are like me, coming from stats background, then you know there is much more than this. So we are going to use different module for the regression and that is known as stats model. So let's import this module. So import stats model.api as sm. So next we are going to save the target in new variable that is y variable and in a second you will know why. So let's y equals to y train. So next we have to create a new variable and in that we have to pass sm.ols and ols stands for ordinary least square. So this is something you must know and you must read because this is the backbone of linear regression. Next we have to pass the data and notice here earlier we have to pass feature first and then target variable, but it is opposite here. So this is something you should keep in mind when using this module. Next, to train the model, we just have to call fit method and store it into res variable. And that's all what we have to do. Now I want to see how model performed and other informations. And when it's about model information, this module is very handy. So let me show you how. So we just have to call summary method of this model and voila, we have everything at hand. So now we can see that we have so much of the information. So here it gives us what is our dependent variable and the model is OLSE, that is ordinary least square. And then we have number of observations, then we have other information. So on the right hand side, we have the R squared value that is non-centered, which is 0.961. And then we have adjusted R square non-centered, which is 0.96. And I will come back to this because there is a problem with the model and I will address this problem. Don't worry about that. So next we have bunch of other information like F statistic, AIC, BIC. So if we scroll down, we see all the independent variables or features. So the coefficient or slope is also given. Then we have standard error. Next we have t-test. Then we have p-value. And lastly, we have confidence level. And if we scroll down further, we see this omnibus, Jacob-Bera, Durbin-Watson, and etc. etc. So these are statistics which are very helpful when we deal with linear regression. And this is something you should study. So before this project, if you were thinking that linear regression is just y equals to mx plus c, now you know that it's much more than that. So if you don't understand anything, just read about it and still don't get it, let me know in the comment section and I will explain it. So now coming to this r squared value, the uncentered means that we have forced the regression line to pass through origin. So what does that means? So it means that in the equation y equals to mx plus c, there is no c or intercept, which means line is passing through origin. So when we use stats module for linear regression, we have to add the constant term before modeling. So let's do that. So we can create a new variable called x, and in that we have to call sm.addConstant, and then we have to pass the training data. Next we have to change this x train to x. So now let's run these cells again. So now let's check the summary. So now you can see that we have r square value 0.75 and adjusted r square value is 0.742. And if you notice that now we have the constant term, that is the intercept, and its value is 36.5331. So now moving on to the next topic, and it is going to be the last topic for this project. And mark my word, this is the most important topic of this project. Because if you are telling the interviewer that you have done project in linear regression, then he or she is going to ask the question from this particular thing. So this section is about assumption of linear regression. And you can be asked this question that what is the assumption of linear regression, or they can ask like what is multicollinearity or what is autocorrelation, etc. etc. So read about it, there are plenty of resources out there, and if you want me to make a video on that, let me know in the comment section. So first we are going to test the assumption of homoscedasticity, which says that variance is constant. And for that, we are going to use Goldfield quant test. So from statmodel.stats.diagnostic, we import Goldfield quant test. Okay, so there is an error, just spelling mistake. Next, we have to call this method and we just have to pass the data and it will do the testing and we don't have to do anything else. So it returns bunch of numbers. So first is our statistic value and next we have our p-value. Since the p-value is greater than 0.05, we accept the null hypothesis, which means the assumption of homoscedasticity is being followed, which is a very good thing for us. Next, we are going to check the assumption of no autocorrelation, which states that there should be no autocorrelation between residuals or error terms. And for that, we use Durbin-Watson test. And the good thing is that we do not have to do this because this test is already done by the model. So here we can see that the value of Durbin-Watson test is 2.125, which is nearly 2. So if the value is 0, that means positive correlation, and a value above 2 is considered as negative correlation. Although our value is 2.125, but the value under 2.55 is also acceptable. So this means that we do not have any autocorrelation. So now the last thing we are going to check is the assumption of multicollinearity, which state that there should be no multicollinearity. So it refers to a situation in which more than two explanatory variables in a multilinear regression model are highly linearly related. And to check that, we have to use variance inflation factor, or also known as VIF. So for that, again, we are going to use stat model. So from stat model.stat.outlier influence, we import variance inflation factor. So let's run this cell and see whether we have made a mistake or not. So everything is okay. So next we create a list to store the VIF value for each variable. So next I am going to run a loop which will run for 13 times. And why? Because we are using dot shape attribute, and from there we are extracting the number of columns, which is 13. And then we append the list with the variance inflation factor values. Next we have to call this variance inflation factor method and we have to pass our data and the ith index. So now let's see the list. So as of now, this does not look much informative. So I'm going to convert it into pandas series and pass the column name as well. So MC equals to pd.series, and then we pass this MC, And then we set the index as column names. So index equals to xtrain.columns, and this way we will be able to do that. So now let's rerun this cell and now check the MC. So now you can see that the crime has 2.025 VIF, which was not visible in previous settings. So now I want to, I can use round method to, reduce this significant figure. So I'm going to reduce it to 2 decimal point. So generally, if variable has VIF more than 10, we remove it from the model. So now you can build a new model where you do not have the variable that has VIF more than 10. So that's all for this project from my side. So the key takeaway is that you have to learn a lot of statistic from this project. Try to read all about things that you didn't understand. And if you have any question, let me know in the comment section so that I can help you. So that's all for this video. And if you like this video, please do like and subscribe my YouTube channel and press the bell icon for the future updates. So till then, bye, stay safe and wear mask.